to see you all. This morning, we are going to hear from Claire Logan-Stephen, even with a PH, who is very high up at Rheged and does all the beautiful curation of the exhibitions that no doubt a lot of you have experienced over the years at Rheged. There's a fabulous exhibition there, which some people who sometimes come on this call are part of, and Claire's going to tell us all about that. I think there were about 250 people at the launch last week, I was told, and I know Stefan from the network said a few words as well. I don't know if anybody was there, but anyway, Claire's going to tell us all about that and what that particularly special exhibition is all about. We're also going to hear from Kate, our esteemed director, about a new piece of training that the network is rolling out from this morning, called Pivot, and also about some new meetups which have just been launched as well. You might have seen some comms about that. This is where we get people together, or give people the chance to come together who are often doing similar things in the artistic environment, be it music or writing or sculpture or filmmaking, a chance for them to get together and talk. So Kate's going to talk a bit about that as well. And we're also going to hear from Nick Henderson, who's there in the glamorous Civic Centre in Carlisle. Nick works for Cumberland Council, but also has a very big stake in the success and continued evolution of the dig going on at the cricket club in Carlisle, which has now been going on for a few years, and they keep uncovering new stuff. And it's just been, I think I'm right in saying, there's another section of the dig taking place now. I don't know, a few months ago. Pardon?
Yeah, right now.
Right now.
Yeah.
So one or two people might have been on the call when Pete gave us a fantastic little walk around the dig back in the summer, I think it was, and talked about all sorts of things, and also showed us some of the Salem, if I got that right, Salem pottery and other wonderful things that have been found there. So Nick's going to tell us what's going on there and why you should be excited about the fact that Carlisle was once the centre of the Roman Empire about 2,000 years ago. Right, so that is the plan for this morning. As ever, do chip in, chuck stuff into notes as and when you want to. And then at the end, I'll tell you what's coming up for next week as well. Just a little shout out for Theatre by the Lake. I went to the Glitch, which is the culmination of their young people's project, under 25-year-olds, as part of the 25th anniversary of Theatre by the Lake. A wonderful production. It's took about 6 months to put together. They did two performances of this piece, which they'd written and made happen. All the young people made happen. Fantastic performances. Not a word was missed in the performance I saw. All about us living in an AI world and what that would be like. It was fabulous, and huge congratulations to them for doing that. I really enjoyed that. The other cultural experience was Brunton Park for me. 8,500 people watching Carlisle beat Forest Green Rovers 4-2. Colin, were you at that? One of the best games I've seen at Brunton Park for some time. I say that because it's probably the biggest cultural experience that takes place every 2 weeks in Cumbria, as far as gathering of people is concerned. It's just worth clocking that sometimes. Anyway, enough from me. Claire.Logan-Stephen, very nice to have you with us. Thank you very much for joining us. Tell us what you do for those people that don't know, and then Kate will get up your slides and you can walk us through the fabulous exhibition that people can go and see at Rheged. Over to you.
Okay, well, I don't curate the exhibitions, so just to correct on that, I have a gallery manager, Claire Harrison, who does a brilliant job working directly with the artists and curating the exhibitions. I set the direction for the programming at Rheged, so I decide what exhibitions we're going to do in the gallery and work out how we're going to actually fund them, do the positioning, the marketing strategy, program everything that happens in the cinema, creative learning. And also I head up community for the whole of Westmoreland, because Rheged is part of a second generation family business that's been going for 54 years. That includes T-Bay services, a hotel, a truck stop, and at T-Bay we also have Growing Well, the Growing Well T-Bay. We also have Gloucester Services, Cairn Lodge, and we're a growing business. We employ 1,200 people now, and we are going to build a new service station at Tatton, which is going to be between the airport and Manchester, and that's due to open in about 2028. So that's us as a business. So it's 25 years since Rheged opened. I mean, I'm fortunate enough to be one of those original people that was there when it was a hole in the ground. 25 years. We have Melvin Bragg to officially open Rheged with a Celtic warrior, Gwelig, and a very different kind of. We were more a visitor attraction then. We had a specially made IMAX film. We had a pre-show and a post-show. We were about inspiring people to visit the whole of Cumbria. We had Made in Cumbria shops, and I think the only exhibition we did then was the Carlisle painters and pastel people. So we've come quite a long way now. We would consider ourselves more an art centre with 2 cinema screens and shops that we curate ourselves. So we buy all the products for the shops, and we're very sort of strong on making sure that everything's quite sustainable, ethical, and design led. So we decided that we would like to do an exhibition to celebrate our 25th year, so called 25 and onwards. There's a photograph here on the screen is the gallery open. It's 100 meters of hanging space. This is just one sort of section of it, but you can see David Kemick's paper sculpture of a wolf looking down the gallery. You probably can see some Malcolm Wilson and Tracy Levine art in the distance on the right-hand side, some Jeff Cox ceramics and some Mark Gibbs sculptures. So I think we'll go on to the next slide. Brilliant. Thank you, Kate. We opened a gallery at Rheged in 2011 because we originally used to have the National Mountaineering Exhibition at Rheged, and they were struggling to reinvest in the exhibition each year and make it vibrant. So visitor numbers had got so low that it wasn't really sustainable. So we had this big open space at the top of the building, and we decided to turn it into a gallery. And have 4 changing exhibitions a year. So this exhibition, 25 and onwards, is our 62nd exhibition that we've produced at Rheged. And so our first exhibition was 12, where we brought 12 Cumbrian artists together. So it was a sort of nice kind of reflection to think, okay, well, we'll do 25 and onwards. We had 4 of our original artists from 12 in this exhibition. So Derek Eland, Paul Scott, Tracy Levine and Julian Cooper. And we sort of thought long and hard about who the Cumbrian artists would be that we would invite into this exhibition, but we were keen to invite only artists that we'd worked with before, that have been in some of our exhibitions previously, or maybe we'd done a solo show with them. But also we're quite different from a lot of art galleries because we have to be quite commercial. So our selection choice was also based on artists that we felt that we could really sell their work. So each of the artists were asked to submit 12 pieces, and then Claire, our gallery manager, selected which pieces she wanted to put on display. We used a slightly different technique this year. Claire's learning how to use SketchUp. Because our family office at Rheged, with all our we call it our head office, but we call our family office, we've got sort of architects in there who use SketchUp, and so she's learned how to use it. So she's got she can do a 3D walk round, and so she does all that planning well in advance of doing the install. We decided not to include printmakers in this exhibition because we do the Great Print exhibition every year, so we just wanted to focus on photography, sculpture and paintings. Next slide, please. So I've listed here all the sort of artists that are in the exhibition, and there's a lovely photo here of Jackie Bassett, who's now, I think, Vice Chair of the Lakes Artists Society. And then if we go on to the next slide, we'll see the next artist there as well. A lovely picture of Mark Gibbs also at the opening with his sculpture. And I think let's go on to the next slide. So we also thought, as well as having 25 of our established artists, it'd be really lovely to give an opportunity to young artists, young emerging artists in Cumbria to be part of the exhibition. So we did a regional call out. We decided that a young emerging artist was someone 18 to 30. We did quite a lot of promotion to get a lot of interest. So we produced a leaflet, we did an ad on social media. I made it quite targeted. We included it in our e-newsletter, which goes out every week to 20,000 people. Thanks to Cumbria Arts and Culture Network for promoting it as well. And we work quite closely with Carlisle College and the University of Cumbria. So we also got them to spread the word. So we actually had 40 young artists, young emerging artists who submitted their work. And from that, we selected 4 artists. And so we were keen to sort of really get a bit of a geographical spread and also have a mix of artists. So we're quite fortunate in the layout of our gallery. It's sort of, instead of being like a rectangular box, you sort of go on a bit of a journey through the gallery, and we've got a final room which has got 4 walls, so it lent itself really well to our 4 emerging artists. And as part of the experience, we thought, it'd be a great experience, as a sort of selling point, if you like, to being part of the exhibition, was that they were going to exhibit alongside established artists. So it provided a networking opportunity, and they also got the opportunity to work with our gallery manager Claire and hang their work, so they learned a little bit about curation and what's involved. And we've created a sort of people's choice. So everyone coming into the gallery gets a sort of star, and they can put it in one of the boxes for the 4 artists, and they get a chance to win £500. So that voting goes on throughout the exhibition until the 1st of February when it closes. We've also got some runner-up prizes. So I think Derwent have been very kind and provided us with some runner-up prizes as well. And there's in the photo there is Ophelia Appleby, the portrait artist from near Brampton, with one of her wonderful artworks behind. We also thought, how can we make the exhibition a bit different from what we normally do? So instead of writing the normal kind of bios that we might normally do on artists, we set them 8 questions to answer. And that is the interpretation about the artist. So describe yourself in 3 words. What would your advice be to your younger self? If you could collaborate with any artist, dead or alive, who would it be? What's your favourite colour and how does it make you feel? Do you work to music? And if so, what's your favourite music to work to? Is there an artwork that stayed with you that you've seen during your lifetime? Is there something that you don't want people to miss about your artwork when they're looking at it? And is there an inspirational place for you in Cumbria? So I think that's given it, as well as we've got the TV screens up as we normally would have, where people have provided a film of them producing their work, and in some cases we've got preparation sketchbooks, but it just gives it a sort of a new dimension for this exhibition. We're very fortunate at Rheged that we have in-house graphic designers, which means that we can keep our branding really consistent and in everything we do. So we decided to develop a new identity for the 25 years of Rheged that we could use both in the gallery and in this exhibition. But we've also, my marketing coordinators created an exhibition for the retail street, which pulls out our milestones and memories of Rheged. So basically, we've taken an event, one from each of the last 25 years. We've managed to source the photo, which was actually quite tricky, believe it or not, by going to sort of publications and photographers. So we've produced those photos with interpretation up the retail street. And then we've pulled out some of our long-serving colleagues and asked them to talk about their favourite memories. And then we've got a sort of an engagement wall where visitors can also post their favourite memories. So that identity is used there. We'll also be able to use the identity in any of our sort of digital marketing, social media posts, and it's all, the sort of essence was about celebrating the arts and community hubs. So Lucian said the design he came up with was trying to reflect the geometric shapes of confetti, and he's used gold and blue as sort of celebratory colours, and he's used an identity that hopefully will sit nicely with artwork and not fight against it. Next slide, please. Shut the door. I think the sort of the learnings from the private view, I mean, we don't normally get 250 people at a private view, and it's really exciting that we did. Can we just have the, sorry, Kate, can we just have the final? That's it. So that was very exciting. I thought it was really funny that Dorothy Ramsey, who's one of our exhibiting artists, she was the first person to post on social media. She's probably the oldest artist in the exhibition, but she was the first to get her post on social media with a picture of herself in front of her artwork, which was really lovely. Also, as part of we've got a programme of events running alongside the exhibition, so we're going to screen the wonderful documentary that's been made about Dorothy on the 7th of December.
I would never underestimate Dorothy Ramsey. She's a remarkable person.
So in terms of the talks, Sarah Dunning opened the talks, and then we invited some of the artists to speak. So Gwen Bainbridge gave a fantastic talk about the work that she created specially for the exhibition. Then Mark Gibbs also spoke, and Catherine McDermott. It's really touching to hear Catherine talk, because she's a portrait artist, and she explained how difficult it is to make a living out of being a portrait artist, because people just don't buy portrait. She paints portraits of whoever she wants to paint, and therefore they're not as saleable. But 30 years now she's been teaching creative learning, and she's part of our programme of creative learning at Rheged, and also we sponsor Kendall Pride as an organisation, and she's part of our stand there doing face painting. So, it shows the versatility of artists to make a living. But she gave a lovely, lovely talk. We then invited the young artists in advance of the preview to see if any of them were up for a Q&A with Stefan. It was a really nice link here, because Cumbria Arts and Culture, you've got your funding to help young artists develop a career in Cumbria. So it was a really nice fit there. And he did a Q&A with 2 of the 4 young artists who volunteered to take on the challenge. So he was asking them questions like, how does it feel to be in the exhibition? What's it like to be an artist in Cumbria? Is there an artwork that particularly touches you here in the exhibition? I mean, we find this with our own young colleagues when we get them involved in many of our events. They are so eloquent. They just stood up with confidence and gave quite long answers to each of the questions. It was really lovely to see. Ophelia in particular, she sort of made great reference to both Kerry Allen and Catherine McDermott, who were in the exhibition, and said how proud she felt to be exhibiting alongside them. I think our private views they're a big opportunity to collect content. So the marketing, Daisy, my marketing coordinator's there, creating reels, doing interviews with artists, photographing them in front of their work to gather as much information and material as she can, so that she can constantly do social media posts for the next 3 months of the exhibition with lots of different angles. Also, a visitor's book, very important, again, for material for that. I think it was lovely to hear artists sort of say that they felt that Rheged served a really important role as being that sort of filling that gap between sort of small commercial galleries and large galleries that have public funding. We're filling a very useful gap there, and there's a quote there from Sarah. So that's probably it in a nutshell. I mean, we turn the exhibition around. The turnaround times are tight for us. We allow just 10 days to turn around an exhibition, and that takes a lot of planning. But the team successfully pulled it off. We drafted in David Kirkbride. I don't know if anyone knows David. He's been part of our gallery team, but he's an aspiring actor. He's been in all sorts of Netflix programs, and he is the lion in the Theatre of the Lake.
Wizard of Oz.
In Wizard of Oz.
Theatre by the Lake.
Yeah. So David came to help with the hanging in between going off to rehearsals. So yeah. So that's it really.
That's fantastic, Claire. As ever, I'm always totally bowled over by what Rheged achieves, and that quick turnaround and 60-second exhibition. Is that have I got that right? Is that what you said? The 60-second exhibition in the time that Rheged's been open.
Yeah, I know.
Exhibitions. That's extraordinary. And how great that you had 40 young artists submitting for those 4 places as well. As Steve says in the comments, you love the 3 words question for the artist as comes. One said artist, educator, alchemist, very clever, while the other said old, fat, and bald. Also very clever. If anyone's got any questions for Claire about how they do things at Rheged or about this exhibition, do fire away. I think it's great that you've kind of pulled this together with such a Cumbrian tint to it, if I can put it like that. And again, looking at the variety of different stuff at the exhibition, from sculpture to paintings to portraiture to drawings. I love the sort of bold, wide net that you've cast, because it can't have been easy to pull, to decide what should go in and what shouldn't go in.
It wasn't easy, and I did have people. There was a couple of people, Sue, bless Sue Allen on the call, who witnessed it. So someone did say, we were very upset you didn't invite so and so. But you've got to be brave, and there might be other opportunities in the future. But we had to pull together who we thought was right. We, as I say, we haven't got any funding for this exhibition. It's a free exhibition. I have to sell £87,000 worth of artwork to cover the costs of my gallery manager and gallery assistant and the interpretation and the cost of putting on the exhibition. So we have to have that in our mind.
Yeah, I mean, it's ultimately you've got to make ends meet. And how much have you sold so far, Claire?
10,000.
Okay, and it's open until February, is that right?
1st of Feb, yeah.
And Christmas is around the corner, so you've got a fighting chance, I'd suggest.
Yeah. Hope so.
Well, I haven't been down there yet, but I have every intention of going down there. I'll be there next week on Tuesday, so I shall certainly look around. I think, was it Sue put, it's one of those exhibitions, as ever, that you need to visit a few times to really take it all in. And I know exactly what you mean, Sue, because there's a lot of stuff there. 25 artists, there's a lot of stuff to see. But Rheged's one of those places you can just pop in and pop out of on your way to wherever. So it's a great position. Claire, congratulations. It's a great looking piece of work, right in the heart of Cumbria. And as you said, it's that bridging role that Rheged has to play between big stuff, commercial stuff, little stuff, people on a journey as an artist as well. It's a really important role, I think, that Rheged plays, and I think your values shine through in this exhibition. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And I think we'd like to think that because of our location, we get a really broad audience. So a lot of people, might be, we were just about to open a big EV hub at the end of October with 16 ultra fast chargers, and that'll bring yet another audience into Rheged, and people that might not have come across an art gallery at all. So hopefully we're also serving a purpose in reaching new audiences.
Yeah. And another service station to open. My goodness me. It doesn't ever stop in your world. Okay, great stuff. Thank you so much, Claire. Thanks for joining us this morning. No, my pleasure. Kate, I'm going to hand over to you now. Hello, Rachel. I'm going to hand lots of Rachels here now from Theatre by the Lake, because you are going to tell us about what this pivot piece of training is as well. You're going to tell us about meetups, and then you're also going to do an age survey, I think, as well.
Oh my goodness.
You've
That's
got about
so
7
fun.
minutes.
Okay, well, I'm going to talk to you about our new program that we're about to launch first, and then I will tackle those other things. So I totally agree, Claire, I think it's a fantastic watching this exhibition, and it's really actually filling a gap in Cumbria, I think, to provide that kind of opportunity. And I can't wait to go and see it. I'm afraid I was on holiday for the big reveal. But yeah, so I also love the way that it fits so very neatly, as you say, with the See It to Be It programme, which is about supporting young people to develop creative careers in Cumbria. It's really timely in that respect. But that is not, See It to Be It is not the only thing that we have on our plate at the moment. We are about to launch a new programme of work called Pivot, which for which the strapline is Refresh Your Direction and Ambition. And this is a programme of work that is funded by both unitary authorities, so Westmoreland and Furness and Cumberland councils, and it is designed to help people build their practice, build their resilience personally and organisationally, and to strengthen the infrastructure in the culture sector across the county. We're hoping to unlock potential among individual practitioners and among the leaders of small cultural organisations in particular. And we're hoping to enable organisational leaders to take steps in stabilising and growing organisations. That's essentially the sort of thing that this programme will do. So we have investment in place and we're ready to go, and we will be going live and opening up the programme on Monday. So what's it all about? Well, I'm pleased to say that actually Kate Brundra is here, but because Kate Brundra is part of this programme and will be helping us deliver. Essentially, it takes the following form. We will open the programme and people can apply, whether you're a creative practitioner or you're running a small organisation. And first of all, there will be an initial coaching session for all of the applicants who are successful in getting a place, because there are limited places and we do need people to stick with this programme from the start, which will be next month, through to next summer. So the first thing that we will do is have a little coaching session with each of the successful applicants, and we will establish what it is that they want to achieve personally. And from that, we will then develop a training program of workshops and sessions that respond to those needs directly. We will also create sort of group sessions where people can work together to share experiences and solve problems, and an online community which will help people stay in touch beyond this programme. So it's new, it's a more tailored, responsive way of programming what we do, and it's going to be for, I say a select group of people. That makes it sound exclusive. It isn't. It's just that we want to pick those people who we think will benefit most from it, and who are prepared to see it through as well and commit. But it is free. It isn't exclusive. It is designed to support those people who need it most across the county. So we'll be going live with that on Monday, so please look out for that on social media and in the newsletter and on the website and so on and so forth. Kate, do you want to just say a quick word about what you'll be doing and how excited you are?
I'm totally excited. I can't tell you how excited I am about it. I think the
Okay.
reason I'm excited about it, and I will keep, can you hear me? I know I keep
Yes.
freezing. Okay, that's okay. I'll try not to do any gurning pictures whilst I freeze. No, the reason I'm really excited about it is because we know that this is a winning formula to have one-to-one coaching, be part of a group, be part of a community, and also have these workshops in between. It's a really awesome formula for actually making a difference in your practice and in your profession. So for those of you that don't know, I'm an ICF coach, and I do coaching and mentoring, but I'm also an artist and I have a visual arts practice as well. So it's going to be a really nice program for lots of different reasons. Coaching, I can't tell you how brilliant it is. I think a lot of people in the UK haven't accessed coaching before, but it's insanely impactful because it's forward facing and solutions focused. So when you have a session, you can't help but actually move forward in some way or another. So this, I think, will be really a brilliant program for everyone to be involved in. Yeah.
Great, thank you, Kate. And the other person who will be involved in the initial coaching sessions, and in fact the final coaching sessions, which will kind of help wrap up what the progress that people have made, the journey that people have been on. The other coach is our very own Tom Spate, who spent a number of years in the BBC being a coach. So do you want to say anything about how excited you are, Tom?
I couldn't be more excited, Kate. I mean, Kate Brundrett seemed very excited, but if I can't surpass Kate Brundrett's excitement at this stage. Looking forward to, and coaching is basically doing two things. It's asking people questions, and it's listening to what they're saying to you. It's as simple as that, but it's amazing how powerful great listening and challenging questioning back to you can get you to think a little bit differently. So that's what I'm looking forward to doing as well.
Yeah, and once we have completed that sort of initial set of coaching sessions, we will then tailor a training program, bringing in a whole range of specialists in their fields, whether that is in audience development or fundraising or whatever it is people have said that they need. So I can't tell you exactly what the session is going to consist of, because that's not the point. The point is that they respond to what the successful applicants say that they need. So please look out for it next week, and then obviously we'll keep you posted as we move on with it. It's all very new and exciting.
Meetups.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Okay. Yes. Chris has asked me to mention the fact that he has now lined up 4 meetups. It's been a little while since we've had any meetups because we've had to get our funding ducks in a row, but they are all now lined up. So we have 4 meetups coming up. These are informal occasions for you to get together with people who do the same sort of thing as you. These ones are currently online, and they begin on the 3rd of November with a writers meetup, which will be led by Katie Hale. That's 7 o'clock on the 3rd of November. And that one is particularly about finding focus, which I think I need to get to. The next one is on the 6th of November, which is for people involved in theatre and spoken word, and that will be facilitated by Stephanie Screet, already mentioned this morning, and I believe Simon McElligott from the Knotted Project. The next one is on the 12th of November, which is for visual artists and those involved in craft. So that's 6:30 on the 12th of November. And the final one in this little set, because there will be more, is the 13th of November, which is for musicians of all kinds and all genres. That one will be led by Dave Camlin, and I didn't say that the visual arts one will be led by Alison Critchlow and Layla Harris.
I'm worth saying that these are a direct response to people's feedback to say, can you help us organise get-togethers and meetings for people that do the similar things to what I do? So hopefully it's responding to a need and a request from people.
Yeah, there's more coming. So, but please do visit the website and sign up. They're all free, all quite short, and hopefully put at times that people can make them, i.e. early evening. Okay.
And I can do a little age survey, Kate, in about 30 seconds.
I'm going to need to lie down after this.
So we're just trying to ascertain people whether over the next couple of years with See It to Be It, we affect impact on the age of people that come to these calls as one tiny signifier of changing culture. So we're just doing a little baseline survey of what age are people that come to these calls on. So we're doing a few of these over the past few weeks and weeks coming on. So if you could just tick the box that is you, as you'll see, there's quite wide definitions of age there. Derek usually has a special one for him. And we'll just see how we get on. And in 2 years' time, we'll reflect on what the survey is and see whether we've changed at all. We might have got older, I don't know, but it's just an interesting little baseline to do. So if you can all fill that in, and then we shall move on. We'll give you about another 10 seconds to do that. 92% of people have participated, so that's great.
Thank you very much for that.
Lovely
Okay.
stuff. Right. Thank you, Kate. And just to reiterate, question from Pete, is there an age group, age range for pivots? The answer is no, there's no age range at all. In fact, it's got to be over 18. So this is very much open to everybody. Okay, so speaking of age, 2,000 years ago, do you see what I did there? The Romans were in Carlisle and lots of other places as well. And we've got a man with a hat on who's very much overseen part of the digging that's going on, that's just started again. Basically, when you dig a big hole in the ground and uncover amazing things, you've got to cover it up again until you get some more money to do some more digging. And that's exactly what I think they've been doing in Carlisle with the dig at the cricket club. So Nick Henderson, over to you to tell us the story of what's going on, how you've got to where you are, and what the future looks like. And you've got about 19 minutes, Nick. Over to you.
Right, no, that's grand. That on a side note, the context of the hat is it was knitted by my great aunt. So we've, but one of my colleagues has been referring to the flump.
It's totally superb.
A colleague has been referring to the flumps, which I've just had to Google if that's a reference. It's would it be alright if we dip back? There's just three slides. There's too many slides already, I know, but we'll get through them all. So basically, what we'll do is we'll cover is we'll talk about what is uncovering Roman Carlisle. We'll talk about a couple of the headlines, the archaeology, the stuff that you're probably really interested in, and also the fact that we're currently on with it right now. So my name's Nick Henderson. So I'm a trustee for the CIO that we've established. We're now a charitable interest organisation. We're going to have our first birthday in a couple of weeks' time for that. But we've been going on for a couple of years now. So if we pop the next slide, please. Okay. Then we'll skip the one after that. Sorry. Thank you. So this is where we are. Just give you an idea. Carlisle was one of the most significant. It was the only city on the frontier. It was one of the most significant places in the north, full stop, and in Britain as well. So each one of those squares is a Roman fortification. And then just in case anyone isn't quite sure where Carlisle is, that's us on the map. So we'll pop to the next sort of slide, please. So in Carlisle number 3 that you can see on the map there, that's underneath Tully House and Carlisle Castle. That's the fort at Lucavalium, which is set up in sort of the 70s AD. And then number 1, which is sort of to the top of the picture there, that's Stanwix Fort. So that's underneath St Michael's Church and Stanwix School, if you're familiar with Carlisle. And then number 2, that's us. That's Carlisle's Roman Manzio, Carlisle's Roman Palace. So it's we're kind of sandwiched between these two forts. And it's the largest building on Hadrian's Wall, and the finds coming out of it are fantastic. So if we'll move to the next slide there. So we ended up on site. Thank you. We ended up on site. Originally, it was discovered in 2017. We'll see why in a moment. We returned in 2021 with a lottery-funded bid, and since then we've had a patchwork of support to keep us going. But the idea behind it is we're an ongoing program of grassroots archaeological excavation of Carlisle's Roman archaeology. And we're looking to enhance well-being and create opportunities to engage with heritage and take part in heritage, and also provide sort of improvements to people's sort of general welfare, as well as to the archaeological record and our knowledge. So if we pop the next slide, this is why we're digging there. So Carlisle Cricket Club floods. So this is the current position of the pavilion. They were wanting to move the pavilion. So this is the 2015 flood, I believe. So they looked to move the pavilion just to where the tennis courts used to be, pretty much directly opposite. So there's, if you pop the next slide, there was Mike Grayson, who's the chairman of Carlisle Cricket Club, said find nothing or find something flipping amazing. I may have edited that slightly to make it slightly more palatable. And something amazing we did find. So in the center of there, you can see a stone with inscriptions on it. These are just some of the sculptural work that we found at the dig. And that sculpture, that carving there, that is a dedication to the Empress Julia Domna. And that is her portrait on a coin beside it, again, that we also found at the site. She was empress, and she was in Britain between 208 and 211. She was a Syrian. She came from this long line of sort of priests, sort of kings almost, in the city of city of Homs, in Syria. And we have an inscription dedicated to her in Carlisle. And we know that the Emperor Septimius Severus was in Carlisle as well, because he was campaigning in Scotland. And that's all evidence from this site. So if we skip the next slide there. So one of the other things we found with these are called hypercores. This is a hypercore system, and these are called pili tile stacks. And where you find those, you know, there's a bathhouse. So we worked on the assumption it was a bathhouse, built around the time of the Severans, and then due to the size of the building, we now come to the conclusions that it was this Manzio, this giant sort of palace in Carlisle. So if we pop the next slide. So these are just some of the little bits that we wanted to achieve with Carlisle. So it's been with Uncovering Roman Carlisle. So we wanted to essentially increase the number of residents engaging with Uncovering Roman Carlisle. About a third for the first, when we dug in the first year, about a third came from areas with high levels of deprivation in Carlisle. There's a community economic benefit, but there's also a city economic benefit. There's £400,000 to £800,000 goes into the local economy based on the visitor figures that we've had. Every time we open up the ground, and we've dug 15 times, I believe, at the site now. So we also wanted to sort of create a project with legacy, effectively, so that when the digging stops, there's other things going on beyond that. So if we just pop to the next slide there, please. So just a couple of sort of community headlines that we've had. So these were taken last year. I'm compiling the evidence from this year, but as you can see, it's 99% enjoyed themselves and had fun. Hopefully Pete can attest to that as well. So we've had sort of the impacts of community archaeology have been really quite well documented in the past couple of years. There's some really good studies come from Historic England, from Sharp, and from a few other places, and everything. All of our research indicates the same thing. So community archaeology, it's good for the mind, it's good for the body, it's good for the soul, it's good for the city, in your local area, in your local community. So we've had about 60% have felt like they made friends, sort of around 56% there. You can see report they gained skills, future employment, study or volunteering. And we've had a number of our diggers, about 8 of our diggers have gone on to find employment in archaeology. 4 of them have gone on to study at Oxbridge, which has been a really brilliant result. So if we pop the next slide there. So 15 excavations, 4 exhibitions. We get between 2,000 and 5,000 visitors every time we open up the ground. We've supported over 5,000 volunteer places. We've had over 20,000 site visitors. We've given over 200 talks like this to everyone. I've driven up to Scotland and given talk to a group of 3 people who turned up. We've been down in London and given a talk to 600. We've done online talks to 1,500. So we'll talk to anyone, and we're very happy to sort of spread the news that we've got. We've also we're planning an exhibition as well for February at the moment, but we don't have a permanent home. This is the next stage of the project, is looking for that and where we can exhibit. So if we pop the next slide there, when we first ran Uncovering Rome in Carlisle, thank you, about 60% of our volunteers had never done it before. So we really want to encourage people who've never done it before to get stuck in. And then you can see in the background that IMP stamp behind. This is one of the really significant things we found on our site, these IMP stamps. It stands for Imperator, stands for Emperor. And it's essentially, there was 40 in the UK before our dig, and now there's over 200 because of found in context, because of the excavation. So we pop the next slide there. So the way that the project's developed, we've retained a lot of people. So this is, we still get a lot of first timers, around 35% based on last year. But then we've had nearly 40% of those who volunteered, who've come to our site who volunteered before in an archaeological project. They've done it with us, basically. The first time that they've ever volunteered in archaeology was with us, and they've been coming back. So we've got a really nice core of volunteers who come back every year. About 99% said that they would consider coming back. The 2 sculptures pieces you can see back there just make up the background. It's a piped clay Venus on the left-hand side. They're really rare to find the top half of. You normally find the legs. And then on the right-hand side is a Dea Nutrix, a mother goddess statue that was found at our site with a connection to the Severan dynasty. So if we pop the next slide there. So our funders, we've got a variety of funding. Every time we fill in the dig, we don't know whether we're coming back. So that's 15 times we've never done whether we're coming back to the dig. Essentially we've had a lot through UK Shared Prosperity Fund. We've had a section that was funded through the Skills and Pathways to Work project. And then we've also had lottery funding, Council for British Archaeology, Marsh Charitable Trust, Parry Family Trust, and then we've taken a lot of public donations and had 1 international donor who helped support our majority of our summer dig. The current phase, I should have updated on here, but the current phase that we've got is being supported through ARA, which is Archaeological Research Association, and public donations. So the dig that's going on right now. So we pop the next slide there. So a couple of the headlines of it. We've had discovery of a large building, the largest known on Hadrian's Wall, possibly home and base to the Emperor Septimius Severus. It's 50 meters by 60 meters. It's actually bigger than that. This is out of date, as we just discovered some new walls in the past couple of days. We've had a dedication to the Emperor Studia Domina, and then some really just standout finds. And we've had 75 magnificently carved gems. If you Google Carlisle gems, that's what comes up. If you Google Carlisle heads, these are 2 monumental carved, utterly unique Roman heads that are about 60 centimeters and discovered by a volunteer on the first day, which we'll get to a little bit later. We've also found possibly the only example of Tyrian purple, which is this imperial purple dye There's over 7,000 artifacts of significance that have come out of this dig so far. We thought we'd get 8 boxes the first time we dug there in 2021, and we finished with 50, and now we're up to 500 boxes of objects and 7,000 significant finds. But it's all based around this man. So pop the next slide. This is Septimius Severus and his family portrait. So it's quite a lovely family portrait. He came to power after a civil war in 19 called the Year of the Five Emperors in 193. There's 5 emperors, and he basically won the civil war. And it happened when Commodus died, who was the baddie in the first Gladiator film, if you're a fan of that. But this is the Emperor Septimius Severus. This is his wife, Julia Domina, beside who we have the inscription to, and their 2 sons, Gaeta and Caracalla. Gaeta lost the struggle for power after his brother came to power, and that's why his face has been stumped out. But it was, but we have a quote from a Latin source saying that Severus came to Carlisle, basically. So this is our, along with all of the objects we found, this is our evidence that Severus was in Carlisle, and the quality and the volume of finds from our site is so unique. If you volunteer to dig with us, if you come dig with us, if you go through the training with us, you will find things that you will never find on another site. It is I've dug on other digs, and you can be there for a week and you get like maybe a bit of pottery like that. But on our site, you'll be finding that on your first day. It's that level of archaeology that is coming out of it, and so much have been robbed out of our site as well. There's a lot of areas of it which are backfill, which is quite safe as your first dig. You're not going to. It's okay if you put your mattock through something, because it's not. You're not destroying anything that's too precious, which just does happen as part of your learning. But the next slide, please. So this is a map of our site. So this is sort of the archaeological map. The building to the left, the right-hand side, that's our Severan Manzio, our Severan Palace. That's the ones with the black lines there. And the blue line running through it, that's the drains where we found these intaglias, these magnificently carved gems. On the left-hand side, that's where we have a temple and which is the building to the bottom left. And then we have a small square there, that's possibly a Jupiter column or a mausoleum. And we've just discovered more as well. There's another building to the south of this, further to the left, which is facing our Severan building. But if you pop to the next slide, this is a reconstruction of the site. So this is now out of date. So everything I've put in this is out of date as the past few days. But this is to give you an idea of what the Severan building sort of looked like. So we pop the next slide there. But one of the main pieces that has come out of this is the drains. So the drains is where some of the most impressive finds that have come out of our site are through, due to the level of preservation that you find in them. So it's I realise I've probably got about 5 minutes left, so we'll skip if you don't mind, if we just skip ahead. So the next to the probably to the dolphin, I'd say so if you pop to the next slide. And then so that's an example of our Tyrian purple found on site. It's about the size of a ping pong ball. But Tyrian purple, it was valued 3 times the worth its sort of weight in gold, as it were. And this, we believe, was heated up and used to paint the walls for the interior of the bathhouse. We pop the next slide as well. So these are some examples of our the sculpture that's been found on the site. So we've got, for example, this carved dolphin head. It's found by one of our volunteers. And then sort of cleaned up. We quite like it because it looks like it's bitten on a lemon, but it's a classical carved dolphin head. But it could have been part of a balustrade or a fountain. If we pop to the next slide. This is a carved head of Fortuna. Fortuna had a strong connection with Severus. The Emperor Severus believed himself to be lucky. So this Fortuna connection is sort of quite significant on site. But she's got these beautiful drop earrings, and the style is Romano-British as well. But it was found with the digger on the first day of the autumn dig last year. It was the digger missed it, and it was spotted sort of by Anna, Anna started off. Now she's one of the supervisors on site. But she sort of worked her way. I mean, she's been steeped in archaeology her whole life. But if we pop the next slide, so these are the Carlisle heads. So we pop the slide after that. This will give you a good idea of them in situ. So these are utterly unique. These were discovered by an American. It was the first time on a dig. It was the first time in Carlisle, and it was the first time sort of, I think, doing what she was doing on site. And then she was scraping away, and she said, "Oh, I found an eye," and we thought she meant an inscription, but no, she meant an actual eye for the one on the left-hand side. And then I remember saying to her, "Oh, it's all downhill from here. You'll never find anything like this again." And then there's a second head behind it. So we had to leave the second head on site overnight because we didn't have time to excavate it, which was a slightly concerning. But it was. But these are utterly unique. You'll see them on Digging for Britain from the previous series from about 2 years ago, and we're going to be on Digging for Britain again as well in January, talking about some of the finds from the dig. So these really put Carlisle on the map. We had hits on our website were from Vietnam, Azerbaijan, sort of all over sort of the world. We've featured in a Japanese documentary. It's been a bit crazy, the level of coverage that we've got, and a lot of it is the human element. So if we pop to the next slide, that human element of the sort of the volunteers on site. So this is some of the inscriptions. The one on the left-hand side is part of a gravestone that's been recycled. The one on the right-hand side is this dedication to the Empress Julia Domna. But if we pop to the next slide, and then we pop to the slide after that, there's a lot of gaming counters been discovered on site, including names of Roman soldiers. These are hairpins that show style changing, but the one that's got an arrow on it is a doll's foot that was found on site. It's one of only 3 in Britain. And when we told one of our volunteers, Faye, her daughter, Verity is fantastic. We've had everyone from 8 to 82 volunteering on our site. Or at least I think he's 82. I don't want to ask him his age. But that foot, that's a doll's foot. And when we told her daughter, Verity, about it, she said, "But mummy, the Romans hadn't invented children yet," which I thought was a great quote. So we've had about 1,200 school kids on the site over the last season of excavations. And then in this time next month, I'll be talking to about 1,600 online as part of the Rheged Focus Day. So we're free to access. We're in the middle of the city. And then we get a lot of local school groups coming down, probably partly because of that. We have quite a comprehensive schools program, but we also engage with Young Archaeologists Club, YAC, which Cubs, Scouts, and sort of different groups who are there. If we pop to the next slide, and we'll pop the slide after that. Thank you. This is some of these are examples of samian that you just mentioned before, Tom. We actually found the remainder of a cup of samian yesterday that had been found 2 years ago. So we've been able to stick those bits back together, which is that Cupid at the bottom left-hand side. But these examples of the Samian ware, these are everywhere the Roman army goes, you would find this stuff going with them. But in the bottom right-hand side, that is a cremation urn that contained the remains of a 14-year-old girl. So we typically have about 25 to 40, although we have had up to 55 people on site, depending. So every day we're running on site. We'll probably have around 25 to 30 at the next phase because it's a slightly smaller dig, but we're able to accommodate very large numbers of volunteers who can come for a day, who can come for an afternoon, sometimes for an afternoon or sometimes for weeks at a time. But if you pop the next slide there. So this, and we'll pop the slide after that. So this is one of the things that really comes out of the site. We've taken a lot of object biographies. So an object biography is not just this is an imperial tile stamp that was made in 208. It's scale skew. You have what it means to the people who've discovered it. So here, this is one of the brilliant quotes I love about it. I found 2 tiles, the IMP stack on it in a stack. They clearly showed a connection between the bathhouse and the emperor. It's amazing to find these in Carlisle. This is every object we have found has a volunteer story behind it. These IMP tile stacks are really unique because they get a lot of animal prints. That's a pig print on it. We also have a child's footprint on the IMP and other animals, and then we also have where the man who's made it has lifted it up. The tile has lifted it up and it's been wet, and he's gone like ooh, and he's put like a bit of a squiggle in it either side. We also have after these, if we could pop the next slide. These are nozzle vaulting tubes, and these are North African building techniques. So this is North African building techniques in Carlisle. And we know Severus was North African, and he brought with him 50,000 soldiers, including North Africans who were his most loyal followers and soldiers. And these are very unique, and you don't find them in trays like you do in the bathhouse in Carlisle. Where we found most of them is from a layer of demolition where the Romans demolished the ceiling, had a barbecue on it, and then continued demolishing it, which you can tell through the layers, which is fascinating. But if you pop to the next slide. So this is part of a standard. There are only 2 of these in Britain. That bronze lion is part of a standard that has a connection with the emperor, with the school of the emperors. If you pop the next slide, please. These are the lead seals. So the lead seals, these were used to on official documents. We have a lot of our volunteers get stuck in. There's about sort of 13 different types of activity the volunteers are generally involved in, one of which is metal detecting on the site. We'll train you up. We'll show you how to use it. But this is sort of some of the lead seals that have been discovered from the site. Among them is there's one of them in the top row, second one in from the left-hand side. It's got GCSE on it, which gave us all a bit of a sort of flashbacks. But that was a sort of the initials of a soldier. But if you pop to the next slide, This is Millefiori brooches. These are glass brooches that have been discovered, very high class, high value items. If you pop the next slide. A lot of the conservation work that's been doing on them is done on a voluntary basis as well. So majority of the conservation that happens to these is happening by very specialist, very knowledgeable people, but volunteers. And we pop the next slide. These are some of the coins that have come out of the side. The wolf, top row, third along, the wolf coins are the 1,000-year anniversary of the foundation of the city of Rome. These are coins from the Romans commemorating the 1,000-year anniversary of the founding of Rome. We found coins from before the Roman Empire was founded all the way right through to, so £2 coins that were put in a Ziploc bag and buried by some volunteers in 2021 for us to dig back up. So the next slide, if you don't mind. So this is an image of the emperor and the empress, Septimius Severus and Julia Domna. So these are the two main figures, but again, these coins vanishingly rare. And when we find a lot of these, if we pop the next slide, are down, essentially down the drains. So this is what you're kind of looking at. This is our finds table. That's Faye. So Faye started off as a volunteer. She now works professionally as an archaeologist, helping to supervise and run the site. So this is where you find a lot of the objects going through that sort of really granular side. So if you pop the next slide. So it was the intaglios. These are one of the really significant finds from our site. If you pop the next slide, please. So these intaglios, these are tiny carved gemstones. Some of them are about sort of, as little as 7 millimeters. These were produced from throughout the Roman Empire with some absolutely phenomenal images, really detailed. We actually have, there's a parrot, an Indian ring-necked parakeet intaglio, and we have one of the lead seals has a stamp of made in Carlisle, basically. This sort of these intaglios. But if we pop the next slide, we pop the one after. So we pop the one after that one. So this is the Carlisle School. So these were produced in Carlisle. These are made in Carlisle. These are it used to be known as the Northern School, but because of the dig and because of the work of the volunteers, we've been able to tell that they were actually made in Carlisle. So these are all sorts of images. For example, at the bottom you've got a langoustine and a dolphin. Then there's images of gods, goddesses. These were worn by men, women, children. And they were produced, many of them in Carlisle, many of them were imported. These Carlisle gems, it's 75 of them. It's the most of a single context in the UK. And if you pop the next slide, I think I may have went over a little bit, so I do apologise. But thank you for letting me sort of speak about it. I could obviously, as you can tell, go on. But essentially, it's a brilliant volunteer experience. It's free to access. It's easy to get to. The health and well-being outcomes from it, as well as those to do with skills, have been really, really positive from the site. And we'd welcome anyone if you want to come visit, if you want to come volunteer, just get in touch. We'll be on till the 9th of November. So thank you for your time as well.
Nick, that is a sensational presentation. Having worked for the BBC for 28 years, crashing the pips at the top of the hour is, you just don't do it unless there's incredibly exceptional circumstances like a royal wedding, a royal death, that kind of thing. On this occasion, it's 10:33. I've crashed the pips of the meeting because that was such a great presentation. I had no idea about half of that stuff that you've been finding there. We got a great insight from Pete when he showed us around back in the summer.
Yeah, I remember Pete with the but I mean that's not even the half of it. There's so much behind the scenes. Pete did also produce some of these using the clay from the site. So Pete made us all some little IMP tile stamps from the clay from the site, which is quite lovely.
Fantastic. And the reason that you came on this morning is I bumped into your colleague Frank, I think his name is, at a conference, at a Carlisle Ambassadors conference about 6 weeks ago. And he just happened to let slip to me that there's a dig just starting again, as those dates on that last slide suggest. And so hence I got in touch, and hence we've come to you this morning. Great to know that it's up and running again, even as the days sort of draw in, and presumably the weather is less disposable towards digging.
Surprisingly, we've actually had better weather at this time of year than we have done in the middle of summer. So it's been quite interesting. So the digs run from, it has been funded through the council at previous phases. The current phase is funded through public subscriptions, and ARA, which is Archaeological Research Association. Frank's our archaeological director. We have 4 trustees, Frank, Chloe Brownlee Chapman, you might know through other sort of assumptions who's involved people first. It's myself, and there's Anna Gico as well. Anna Gico has done all the photography in that almost of any of the objects and conservation. This is the 4 trustees that we run through, and then we have a large group of dedicated volunteers, the diggers such as Pete, who's on the call, and a number of so others who, and then between us, we kind of make it happen.
Rachel asked Nick, is there a website through to the stuff that you've been talking about?
Yes, there is. I can pop it in the chat.
Pop that into chat. And loads of comments in chat that you need to catch up with, Nick, before we finish, about people saying this is extraordinary, this is fascinating stuff. I think people had a hint of what was going on. As Phil says, he lives just around the corner from the dig, and it's astonishing to see what's been unearthed and to think this has been waiting to be discovered all this time. And it's a sort of silver lining to the floods, obviously, back in 2015, that I guess the sort of digging took place because the pavilion had to be moved.
Yeah, and I've just thank you, Helen, for putting the website in the chat as well. So that, I mean, our next phase is we're looking at exhibitions and spaces that we can hold, either like a building to rent or a space that we can rent for, say, a year to have objects on display.
Yeah.
And essentially look at creation of a kind of archeo lab where there's a lot goes on behind the scenes, but it's not very public facing. So we've got 4 or 5 volunteers in most days.
There must be artistic spin-offs in this as well, music and poetry and all sorts of things that people are thinking probably as you're talking.
There absolutely is, and Peter's done a fantastic job compiling a poetry anthology, which is it's been ongoing, and I can only apologise, Pete, that we haven't got it printed yet. But Pete's compiled a poetry anthology and produced a number of beautiful watercolours, including a one of the site, a really gorgeous sort of watercolour of what the site may have looked like, which kind of helps bring it to life, which he's quite a lot on the tours.
Yeah. Sue asks, are you talking to Tully about an exhibition there?
Yeah, so Tully, it's an excellent question too. So we've got we're looking at an exhibition in Tully in February, for a couple of weeks sort of afterwards. So it'll be running a long time. They've got a bit of a space. They've got 2 exhibitions running at the same time, and we're hoping to be one of them. So we've got a meeting with them next week to discuss some of the objects, which doesn't give us a lot of time really, but we'll sort of work through it.
Amazing stuff.
I will look up Poodle Flump as well, Victoria. That's a colleague was sort of sending me WhatsApps with pictures of them while we were on the call.
It's an excellent hat. It's an excellent hat. Nick, thanks ever so much. Good luck with who knows what they're going to find today. Well, who knows what they're going to find today? It's extraordinary what they're digging up from that site.
Thanks for having me. It's been great hearing about sort of everything going on with Pivot and Rheged as well. So we're really looking to.
It's a busy old county. Next week, everybody, Faye Morrissey is going to come on, talk about a new small museums network that she's hoping to set up. We're going to hear from an artist called Eva Ulrich, who's got an exhibition in a barn just outside Kendal. And also, I don't know if any of you read a really interesting piece in The Guardian a few weeks ago, all about Whitehaven and the pull of Sellafield on Whitehaven, and how if you're trying to follow creative careers as a person, a young person in particular, in that part of the world, it's really difficult. Well, the person who wrote that article, she's called Eve Livingston. She's going to come on and talk about what she discovered as an outsider coming into West Cumbria and seeing how the creative landscape is, and how sometimes there are barriers, which, things like See It To Be are trying to confront, frankly. So hopefully an interesting perspective from her as well. Thank you so much to Claire.
Can I interrupt to just say what amazing thing it is that Tom can get out there and get such amazing contributors to these calls, to see an article in the Garden and then dig out the journalist and line them up to speak to you. It is incredible, Tom, so thank you.
Pleasure. Well, it's incredible to find people like Nick Henderson and Claire Logan-Stevens talk about their amazing things as well. So it's all out there. It's a great landscape. And by the way, if you've ever got any ideas or are doing things that are absolutely worth, thank you, Claire, other people hearing about it, then shout to me and I will just put the cogs into action. So Eva and Faye next week. That's just for starters. Good to see you all. Have a great Friday. Have a great weekend and catch you all soon. Thank you.